everyone, I am Vishal. I am a verbal faculty working with T.I.M.E. The purpose of this video is we are going to talk about SNAP exam which is going to be conducted on December 16th. Now before we go about the verbal section, there are few things that we need to look at. Now the students who are oblivion about the changes, I would like to talk about it for some time. The one change that we are going to see this year, unlike the last year, is they have actually reduced the number of questions. Last year we had 2-hour session of SNAP entrance exam, whereas the total number of questions were 150. Whereas this year they have reduced it to 130. And in this 130 questions, there will be 5 questions each in verbal, cons, LR and current affairs. And these non-MCQ questions will have 2 marks each, whereas the negative marking remains the same for all the questions. So the total marks that you will be obtaining will be 150 marks. Now the best part about SNAP exam is there is no sectional cutoff. The only condition is you cannot score a 0 in any of the sections. So there is no sectional cutoff, there is no sectional timing. So what you can actually do is you can focus on your strengths and you can emphasize more on that particular section and attempt as many questions as you can. Other than that, when it comes to your colleges for symbiosis, SIBM Pune is a good college that we have along with SIBM Pune, whereas SIBM Bangalore is considered to be a decent college. When it comes to the cutoffs, usually we have SIBM around 97 or 96, and usually when it comes to SIBM it is 1% less than SIBM Pune, whereas SIBM Bangalore is around 90 and 91 percentile almost for the last 3 years. Now, I have been given SNAP for the last 3 to 4 years, and what I have seen is it has not changed much in these 3 to 4 years. But obviously, they are changing few things as we have already discussed. Now, the section that I am going to talk about is the verbal section, and I will be also talking about how to go about the preparation as well as how to tackle this particular section in a given point, in a given time. So, when it comes to the verbal section that we have for SNAP exam, wherein we will have 35 questions for this particular section. That is, 30 questions will be MCQ questions, that is with options, and 5 questions will be non-MCQ questions. Now, if I remember well, the last 2 to 3 years of SNAP question paper, the more emphasis is given on vocabulary, wherein we have 15 to 16 questions for this particular topic, as well as there are 3 to 4 questions wherein we will have 2 fill in the blanks, or there can be a question or 2 on idioms. So if you look at the vocabulary part compared to the other exams that we have, the number of questions are pretty less than what we have for SNAP exam. And if I look at the total number of questions, 15 to 16 is a good chunk that we have when it comes to the verbal section. Along with this, we do have RCs wherein we have 2 passages. It can be either 6 plus 4 or it can be 6 plus 5, and that is how the number of questions will be comprised of when it comes to the RC topic. Along with this, the other topic that we have is parajumbles. Usually we get 3 to 5 questions of this for this particular topic. And the left out topic is grammar, wherein the number of questions, usually what we have seen is the number of questions are 5 for this particular topic. Now when it comes to the particular sequence that we need to follow in verbal section, what you can actually do is you can focus on the topic that you're good at, but the most interesting thing, as we have already discussed, that vocabulary topic being the topic wherein we have good number of questions, what you can actually do is you can start with vocabulary because the questions will be regarding synonyms and antonyms. So, in this particular topic, what can happen is you can finish the questions in less time. So, let's say if I talk about all these 20 questions approx, we can certainly try to finish these questions in around 5 to 6 minutes. And I'm sure as the difficulty is not very high, you can at least solve 8 to 10 questions. And make sure that you keep this one particular thing in your mind. Vocab is something that maybe you have not prepared well, but certainly if you get 8 to 10 questions, it is a good number. So you can finish this number of questions in a quick time, and then you can emphasize more on the other topics, that is your RCs, parajumbles and grammar. Now when it comes to idioms, we did have have a question last year wherein they asked what is the meaning of Achilles heel, which is an idiom which means weakness. This was one question which was asked. Other than that, we did have a question on Dejavu, which is an expression which means something that has happened in the past, you feel that it is going to happen again. So these kind of questions we get one or two, so that is something that will be part of the topic as well. But if I talk about RCs, which is the next topic, as the number of questions will be 10 to 11, what we have seen is the passages are more of factual or informative. Just last year we had a topic from Times of India, which was an article, and in that case what happens is usually the topics are much easier to read, so it won't take much of your time. Now, how to go about the reading method? What I would suggest you to do is, there are two different methods that you can actually look at. One is your traditional method wherein you read the passage first and then you move to the questions. But let's say you are used to reverse reading, that is questions first and then the passage. Make sure if in case you read the questions first, don't read the options, because you try to fit those options into the answers that shouldn't happen. So either you can follow a traditional method or you can go for the reverse reading method. Usually the people who are used to reverse reading method, they can't remember the questions sometimes, so that can be a problem. So make sure that you take your call very wisely when it comes to the approach for RCs. But as I've already mentioned, RCs are not a challenge for this particular exam, that is SNAP. The other topic, that is parajumbles, is one of the topics which I consider to be a scoring topic for your SNAP exam, because unlike CAT wherein we have parajumbles without options, in this particular exam we have this particular topic with options. For example, let's say we have 4 sentences A, B, C and D, and if in case I get D and A, sentences which cannot be separated, which we call as a subset, I can just look at the options and try to search at this particular thing. So in that case, if I look at the approximate time taken for a parajumbles, students could solve 2 questions in a minute, and this has happened in the last 2 to 3 years. So obviously you can try to solve these questions in much less time. Whereas when it comes to grammar is a tricky topic, because you need to know the rules for it. But in the given less time that you have, what you can actually do for grammar is make sure that you go through the notes that we have discussed in the classes along with the questions and take some help of the material as well, and that I'm sure will be sufficient for your exams. So as I've already discussed all the topics that we have for verbal section, what you can do is you can start with vocabulary, because you can finish the questions early, and then you can switch to any of the other topics. And looking at the total questions, that is 35 questions for this verbal section, I would suggest you to finish these questions around in 22 minutes or maybe 23 minutes here, 1 minute here and there, that should be okay. So when it comes to grammar, make sure that you go through the rules. Parajumbles, as I have told, that you can just use the answer options and reach into the options. Now when it comes to your vocabulary, what I'm going to do now is, I'll give an example wherein this is one particular method which you can follow in order to learn the words in the less time given. So last year we had a question on the word extrovert, which means friendly. So in that case we can have the word amiable, which is also a word which has been asked in many of the exams, followed by amicable. Then we can have the word amity. Similarly, we can have sociable, friendly. So all these words are synonyms. Along with this, we can add a few more, that is the word affable. We can have the word genial, congenial, convivial. Now all these words mean the same. Along with this, as I've told, that extrovert word was a 2017 question, and last year, that is 2016, we had a word gregarious, which means the same again. So all these words clubbed together will be your synonyms, and we can have one more word, that is bonhomie. If I look at the SNAP 2017 question, the word extrovert, they had asked for an antonym pair, whereas for gregarious in 2016, they had asked for a synonym pair. So when I look at the antonyms for these words, we can have the word reserved, we can have the word shy, we can have the word reticent, we can also have the word diffidence. and along with this we can add the word introvert, and we can also have a few more synonyms. If I look at introvert as an antonym for this, we can also relate the word loquacious with the word extrovert and amiable. So what I've done here is I've formed a cluster of words around 12 to 15 words. So when you're preparing for your vocabulary, in the given less time, let's say 15 to 20 days that you're left with for your SNAP exam, pick a word and make sure that you use the root if possible, and try to form a cluster of words around it, and that will be something that will be really beneficial for you in order to recollect the words in a better way. So that would be my suggestion when it comes to your vocabulary part. So this is what I wanted to cover when it comes to the verbal section. So when it comes to your verbal section, make sure that you start with your vocabulary, because you can finish those questions early and then you can switch to any of the topics. Now, when it comes to your preparation, what you can do is, if I look at the topics that we have for SNAP, try to form the same structure and strategy for your preparation. Now, when I say that, what you can do is you can pick 2 RCs on a daily basis, have 5 questions of paragymnals, have 5 questions of grammar, and then you can practice for 20 to 25 minutes your vocabulary part. So maybe it will take around 1 hour or max 1 hour 15 minutes. So this is something that you can do, or this would be something that I would suggest you when it comes to your preparation of SNAP exam. And along with this, make sure that you give as many mocks as possible. At the same time, try to analyze if time permits. Now, I would like you to also subscribe to our channel, comment if you like, and make sure that you stay tuned to our channel for the upcoming videos. So we are going to upload a video on the current affairs section as well, which will be dealt by me. And when it comes to your cons and LR section, that will be taken by some other senior faculty. And I would wish you everyone all the best. Thank you everyone.